Hi friends, happy Thursday. Welcome back to our mini lesson for today. Today for our mini lesson, we're going to look at our nonfiction book about what? What is on this book? Frogs. We're going to talk about the life cycle of a frog. We took a picture walk of our book on Monday. So today we're going to go over the different parts of our book first, and then we're going to take a look at the introduction in the first two chapters and go from there. So first, our learning target, we have two of them today. The first one says, I can identify what it means to sequence. That means you're able to tell what it means to sequence. And our other learning target says, I can sequence the events of a text. So let's get out our arm for our song and remind ourselves what it means to sequence. We did this in math already with our number line. Ready? Here we go. Sequencing, sequencing is putting things in order. Putting things in order. First, next, then last. First, next, then last. Sequencing, sequencing. Why do we say first, next, then last? Those are our signal words. As readers and listeners, whenever we read or hear those words, we know that the author is telling us as readers that the order of what they are telling us is important. Just like looking at that poster of making a bird feeder last week was so important to listen to the order of that. Otherwise, your bird feeder would probably fall apart or not work, right? So we're going to listen to the importance of the life cycle of a frog, the order of the frog's life. So a cycle is another word for something that repeats itself over and over again, like a pattern. So a cycle repeats itself over and over again. We've looked at that with apples and pumpkins, and now we're going to look at that with our frog. So it says, the life cycle of a frog. And this nonfiction text is by Margaret McNamara. So Margaret McNamara is the author and illustrator, which means that she wrote the words and also took the photographs. They're actual real pictures that we're going to see in here. So since this is a nonfiction text, that means it's not made up. There are real facts in our book. What do we call this part of the book? This is the front cover. This is where our book begins, right? What do we call this part of our book? The back cover. Good. What's this part of the book called? The spine. Touch the spine in your back. The spine in your back is that bone right down the middle of your back that holds your other bones together, even your ribs that come across the front. Okay? Our spine of our book holds the pages together. On our front cover, we always have a title, the words that tell us what we're going to read about. And then there's also a picture that matches. Another word for picture is called illustration. Can you guys say that word with me? Illustration. Good. And then there's also the person who wrote the book and illustrated it, the author and illustrator. Inside of our nonfiction text, since it is a chapter book, we have something called the table of contents, the lists that tell us on each page what we're going to learn about. So we're going to flip to the words to think about page. On this page, we're going to be seeing some vocabulary words that are really important to what we're reading. We have adult, and it tells us right away what that means. An adult frog can live out of water. This right here says animals. So this is an example of some other animals. And it says many animals live on the earth. These are eggs. These look different than eggs that you eat, right? These eggs say, these eggs will become frogs. So these are frog eggs that we'll see in our book. This says frog. The frog lives in a pond. This word, these two words say life cycle. A frog changes and grows during its life cycle. So we see it's an egg, and then we're going to learn this vocabulary word, and then we see a frog. Ooh, and here's this vocabulary word right here. This is called a tadpole. A tadpole will become an adult frog. So it's just a little baby frog. So I'm going to turn from page 3 on our words to know to pages 4 and 5. And I see the 4 in the corner and then page 5. And every time I read, I'm going to start at the top left. This is the title. It says Introduction. So this just gives us some information to think about and connect with our schema. It says all animals have a life cycle. First, animals begin life. So there are several things of what I just read. If you look closely, you can see this dark black word right here and right here. Those words are so important. Okay, I had to pause for just a moment to answer the phone, but these two words are important words. That's why they're black, and we'll see more of those throughout. So I heard the word first in there. That's our signal word, knowing that this is the beginning of a sequence as a reader. So it says first animals begin life. Then animals change and grow. Finally, animals die. So they begin life as little babies, then they change and grow, and then they die at the end. So we see some examples of cycles here. This is the life cycle of a penguin. So we see it starts out as a little baby egg, and then it changes and grows, and then it gets bigger as an adult, and then it just repeats the cycle where the adults lay the eggs, and then around and around again. Here's an example of the life cycle of a cat. Look at that baby cat right here inside its mama's belly. Then what do we call a baby cat? A kitten, right? And then as it grows and changes, it gets bigger to an adult cat. And then down here at the bottom is an example of our life cycle of a frog. So we see its eggs, and then it turns into a tadpole, and then it turns into a frog. So a frog is an animal, and a frog has a life cycle, is what our little caption says. So now I'm going to turn to pages 6 and 7. Chapter 1, title says, How Does a Frog Begin? So this is the very beginning of the life cycle of a frog. And it says, a frog begins life as a tiny egg. The egg is one of many eggs. Look at all the eggs squishy together. All of those are little frogs. After about 1 week, a tadpole hatches from the egg. The tadpole lives in water and has a tail. So this is what grows from this. And how long did it say it takes? 1 week. So our caption here says a tadpole cannot live out of the water. The tadpole breathes through gills. Our caption over here says a female leopard frog lays its eggs in water. A female means girl. So this is a type of frog that laid their eggs in the water. So now we're on chapter 2, which is on pages 8 and 9. Chapter 2, I'm trying to hold the book for you. I know it's such a big book, it's hard to show you every part. Chapter 2's title is called How Does the Tadpole Grow? It says, after a week or more, the tadpole starts to grow legs. The tadpole slowly loses its tail, too. So now you can see that the legs are starting to grow off of the tadpole, and then it's going to lose its tail and become a frog. At last, the tail is gone, and the legs are fully grown. The tadpole is now an adult frog. So our caption here says the back legs start to grow first, and then the front legs grow. And our caption over here says, now the leopard frog can live on land. It doesn't have to stay in the water. This blue box down here says, look at the text structure, the sequence of events. Notice the words after a week or more. These words help you understand the sequence or order of events in a frog's life cycle. So we've heard some of those signal words that tell us as readers, oh, this is an important step in the life cycle of the frog. And in chapter 2, we learned how the tadpole changes into an adult frog. Very, very important. So in the next chapter, the next 2 chapters, we'll learn more about the life cycle of the frog once it's an adult and put that in sequence, in order. So we'll talk about that tomorrow on our next video. Great job today, friends, sequencing, and I will see you tomorrow for more nonfiction information.